let's do a quick summary, a quick review, just to kind of help many of you who may be feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now. What do you mean avoid all grain and pseudo-grain? What do you mean avoid all packaged food that claim to be gluten-free? Why? Well, let's look at mechanisms of gluten-induced damage. So if you are gluten sensitive, and if you don't know, if you don't know whether going gluten-free is the right thing for you to do, get genetic tested. Get genetic testing done yesterday. Get it done as quickly as you can possibly get it done. Get the confirmation as to whether or not the diet is the right move for you to make. Otherwise, you're going to sit there in limbo for the rest of your life, yo-yoing back and forth every year. When it comes time to New Year's resolutions, you'll commit for a few weeks, but you'll never get serious about your commitment until you actually know. So genetic testing is where it's at. As a matter of fact, Alan, if we can put that up, if we can just throw a link up to genetic testing for folks if they want to go ahead and get that done. But it's something I highly encourage you to do. As a matter of fact, I think we've got if you type in save 80 in our checkout box process, you'll save $80 off of genetic testing. So it's something I would recommend. If you're on the fence and you've been on the fence about it, take advantage of the New Year coupon this week and get that thing done. But let's talk about some of the gluten areas or mechanisms of gluten-induced damage. So number one, we know that then this is all under the premise, under the auspice that you are gluten sensitive, right? We know that it can cause gastrointestinal damage and leaky gut. And we know that leaky gut leads to autoimmune diseases as part of its side effect. It leads to basically the systemic inflammation, right, that sets in. The other thing we know is that gluten can cause you to become more allergic to other foods if you're gluten sensitive. So in essence, people with gluten sensitivity that ignore it start collecting food allergies, and they start becoming more and more intolerant to the different foods that they are eating. We know that gluten can induce malabsorption of vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients. And remember, vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, why are they so important? This is how you heal and repair, right? Your ability to heal and repair is dependent upon adequate nutritional status. We know that your immune system, if it doesn't have adequate zinc, for example, or adequate vitamin C, if it doesn't have enough glutamine, if it doesn't have enough vitamin A, won't work right. It won't work to protect you very effectively. So we know this is a gluten-induced issue, is malabsorption. And then we also know that gluten can alter your gut microbiome. It can change the nature of your gut microbiome. There have been a number of studies showing this to be the case. Altered gut bacteria, why are they important? They regulate your immune system, right? So immune system regulation is done through what's called crosstalk. The bacteria in your GI tract communicate to the immune system behind your GI tract, behind the gut wall, through a series of chemical messages, and they talk to each other to help mitigate your risks. The other thing that we know is altered gut bacteria, a lot of times, especially in those with gluten sensitivity, will lead to yeast overgrowth. Yeast overgrowth contributes to a host of different types of problems. I've done entire shows on yeast overgrowth as well that can damage your body's immune system and damage you individually. So altered gut bacteria leading to the increased risk for yeast overgrowth and immune dysregulation. We also know, kind of additional summarizing on something called the grainflammation cycle. So when you eat grain, remember that grain comes with all the things that you see right here, right? It comes with ATIs. What is that? ATI is a family of proteins called amylase trypsin inhibitors that damage your ability to digest your food and cause inflammation in your gut, ripping a hole in your gut lining. We know that grains come heavy pesticide. Many of them are genetically modified. Obviously, gluten is part of grains. Many grains are contaminated with heavy metal, especially rice, arsenic, and lead, and cadmium. We know it's excessive omega-6. Grain is very heavy in that way. Omega-6 promotes inflammation. We know that grains are a source of mold and mycotoxins in the diet, which can poison you slowly over time. We know that grains can contribute to leaky gut, ripping a hole in your gut lining. We know that grains also contain excessive carbohydrate. Now, you add all that together, that grain as a food, as a total food, we turn it into the machine here, and what is that really? What happens is we drive the inflammatory process. We drive inflammation, which leads to increased cortisol response. Now, those of you who don't know much about cortisol, cortisol reduces muscle, increases fat, increases water retention, so you bloat, okay, and you get thick and you get swollen. but it also increases blood sugar, contributing to a host of hormone responses that basically over time cause you to gain weight, which puts more pressure on your joints, puts more pressure on your body, cause your blood sugar to go up. So now your body becomes overwhelmed. Your blood sugar becomes more like syrup. Your bloodstream becomes more like syrup instead of water, and it gets very, very thick, which makes it harder to deliver oxygen and nutrients to feed your tissues. And so that's what you're seeing here, that cortisol response causing muscle loss, weight gain, and this is fat weight gain. This is central fat, central adiposity. That weight gain can cause more joint compression and pain. Most people, what do when they hurt? They gravitate toward the medicines. You know, in today's society, prescription pain medicines, there's all kinds of side effects to these guys, but a big one is constipation. So it shuts down your bowels and your bowel motility. And so now, because you're not properly getting rid of the poop and your gut is leaking, now you've got poop, constipation, right? You've got that poop is leaking into your blood. Poop is leaking into your bloodstream, and so you're just slowly poisoning yourself over time. And this is why the no grain, no pain diet, in my opinion, is the ultimate detoxification diet. And that's why if you follow this process, if these things are happening to you, they're going to start going away. Your body's going to start responding, and it's going to start becoming more well-nourished, less inflamed. The cortisol is going to come down, the insulin's going to calm down, the blood sugar is going to start to normalize, and your body's going to start to react and behave in a manner that's consistent with good health instead of in a manner that's consistent with an inflammatory process that contributes to the development of autoimmune disease. Hey, don't forget to check out the rest of the series right here. Make sure you hit subscribe below. And as always, thanks for tuning in.